All right. Welcome, beautiful souls, to another wonderful Wednesday episode of the Faith, Fitness, Joy podcast. I am your host, Rochelle Renee. I am also a health coach and healer. And today's episode is called Heal Yourself, Heal the World. So I felt really led to talk about this topic today just because it's something that has been a big part of my day-to-day life for several years now. And I also realized that a lot of people are starting to learn more about inner healing. A lot of people are starting to learn more about things like shadow work. And more people are maybe starting to seek this out or wanting to learn more about it, and maybe aren't sure like what that involves or what it looks like, how to go about it. So that's what we're kind of going to dive into today. And I feel like it's a really important topic just because we often don't realize that we are always sending out this signal out into the world. It is literally a vibration and a frequency that we are sending out at all times, whether we realize it or not. And also, this frequency is sort of a reflection of our energetic state that we are in. And it's always kind of a combination of things, just sort of based on different emotions and energies that we hold on to. And then this kind of ripples out to the world and to others around us. It's also sort of the color through which we see everything, if you will. It's like a lens or a filter that we operate through without really realizing it as well, because most of us are so used to kind of this state of being that we're in all the time, and this sort of background noise, if you will, this background frequency that we have. So today I'm really just excited to delve into this topic with you. I feel like it's really enlightening and also very empowering to really learn about vibrational frequencies and just sort of energy in general, and how all of us and everything in this world in creation is energy. And again, we often don't realize it, but we're always sending out these signals and these frequencies because we are energy, and even our emotions are forms of energy. So whether you're new to this concept or diving deeper into your own spiritual journey, understanding how our emotions influence our energy is really key to living a fulfilling life. But it's also so important for really the whole world and everybody around us. And it may sound, I don't know, maybe it sounds a little cheesy to say that, but it's very true that if you heal yourself, you are actually helping to heal the whole world, because you're changing just through your own state of being. By changing that, you're going to have a ripple effect on everyone around you. And that does have an impact. The more of us that do this, the more of us that do this work and change the vibration that we're sending out, the better, because it's going to ultimately, continue to change the vibration of the world as a whole and sort of the collective energy. So first, let's kind of dive into what vibrational frequency is. Like, what am I really talking about? So as I mentioned, everything in creation, including us, vibrates at a specific frequency because we are all energy. And this frequency is really influenced by things like our thoughts, our emotions, and our overall state of being, which is kind of like a comprehensive, the word's escaping me now, but it's like almost like, for lack of a better term, like an amalgamation of the different emotions that we tend to hold within ourselves at all times, even those that we often suppress and maybe aren't consciously aware of all the time. So when we experience emotions like love, joy, and peace, our vibration is going to be higher. It's going to elevate because these are, let's say, lighter emotional states and emotional frequencies. Conversely, emotions that are like heavier are things like anger and fear and sadness, and these things bring our vibration down. So that's why I say it's kind of an amalgamation, because we all might, maybe day to day you don't feel angry and sad. However, you might be holding emotions of anger and sadness from things that have happened to you in the past that you haven't fully resolved or worked through. So they're kind of like in the background vibrating, while your other energetic emotional states that you're feeling throughout the day are also there. So it's kind of going to level out or balance out into your own unique vibrational frequency. But we want to kind of continue to elevate our individual vibrational frequency so that more of us are operating at a higher vibration most of the time or more of the time, because we are human. So it's not realistic to expect that you're going to be, just like tra la la all the time, right? I mean, we live in this world. We all experience different things that at times are going to cause us to have different emotions that aren't going to be so high vibration, right? So it's more about kind of working on maintaining a certain state most of the time. So emotions and their impact. Let's talk about that for a moment. So the emotions we hold within us act as these sort of energetic signals that radiate outward. So I often use like the radio tower analogy because I always get that image in my mind when I talk about this. And I always think about like the really old black and white movies that like my grandma used to watch. And sometimes at the beginning of the movie, there was like this logo, or I don't know what you call it, but it would be like a radio tower, and there would be like this little signal beeping, and then like there would be these like radio waves. You would see like these ripples of radio waves going out. That's kind of how we are. It's the same idea. So we hold these emotions within us, and these are like our energetic signals that radiate outward all around us wherever we go. And it influences our interactions and the different types of situations that we attract as well. So again, this is all happening whether you kind of believe in this or not. It doesn't really matter. This is the case. And so that frequency that you're sending out is also kind of like drawing things back to you that are like the frequency that you are emitting. So if you are constantly in a state of worry and anxiety, and maybe you're complaining a lot, or you're just like stressed out about stuff a lot of the time, that's what you're thinking about all the time, that's going to create a certain energetic state and a vibration that you are going to attract more of that back to yourself, because that's the vibration that you're sending out. So it's almost um like a message that's kind of boomerangs back to you. So you want to, this is another reason it's so important to be conscious of your emotional state and this sort of energetic vibration that you're sending out, because again, it's going to reverberate back. It's going to attract that same like type of signal back to you. So we radiate these different frequencies out. So have you noticed how when you have days that you feel really grateful, kindness seems to just flow effortlessly? It's just one of those days where it's like everything just seems to line up, right? And it's just like a great day. And the more the day goes on, the better you feel, the higher you feel, right? Like you kind of have this high when we have these really great days. Like maybe you found out you got that job, and then now you can get this car you've been really wanting to get. You can upgrade your car, whatever it is. And then it just seems like everything else just kind of starts to fall in place along those same lines throughout the rest of the day. So that's not really by accident. It's because as you're like in this state of gratitude and happiness and joy and excitement, you're attracting more and more of that back to yourself. So it's like all these other things start to fall in place that are in line with that same emotional frequency. Similarly, we've probably all had those days where it's like it's maybe it starts off in the morning and it just seems like it just goes downhill from there. And I don't know, you could be getting dressed in the morning and starts off and like your coffee spills on your shirt. Now you've got to change. Now you're running late. Now you're rushing out of the house. Then you're trying to get to work, and traffic's horrible because you've left the house later than you normally do, and on and on and on. And it just seems like the whole rest of the day kind of spirals out in that direction as well. So it's the same idea, and you can see that it can happen kind of in either direction, whether it's quote negative emotions or more positive emotions. So some practical tips for how you can raise your vibrational frequency, because we're again, we kind of have this baseline level that most of us are operating in until we start to become conscious and aware of where we are, and things like our mindset and our dominant thought paradigm, which I've talked about a lot in this podcast as well. And then as we start to become aware of that, we start to realize how we are attracting and creating certain things in our life that maybe we don't really want. Because as you start to learn about all of this and you start to recognize that you are always the one creating everything that's happening in your life, and everything in your life is a reflection of your sort of inner state and your mindset and your beliefs. So then you can start to look at that and go, okay, how did I, like, what is it in me that attracted this into my life? What is it in me that thinks that, this is the way things need to be? What are some of the things that I am maybe holding on to that could be drawing more of this back to me, and you can start with like looking at how you feel day to day, but also some of these things that maybe what comes up when things go bad, when things don't really work out for you. What kinds of stuff do you say to yourself, right? Like those are some clues that can help you with some of this work. So, but first, let's just kind of explore some of these actionable steps you can take that are going to help you elevate your vibration. And again, it's kind of all of these things, and it can be really challenging to do this work. And a lot of people avoid this. We actively avoid this, whether, again, it's not even, I guess I can't say actively because a lot of times it's subconscious. We do things to avoid this, like scrolling on social media for hours on end when we should be going to sleep. Maybe drinking because we don't want to feel some of these heavier emotions that we feel. Maybe we go and we shop a lot to try to fill a void that we were feeling, or maybe you do that with food, and you're binging in the evenings because there's something that you feel like you're missing. And again, it's not necessarily conscious. It's so ingrained in your being because you've been holding on to these unprocessed emotions, and you just haven't had the tools to be able to manage them and deal with them for so long that you just kind of think it's what you do and you don't really know why. Most of us are not really consciously aware of the why behind some of the stuff that we do. But it always goes back to some of these things that we have not been able to confront or address or really look at. So the first step that you can take, and probably one of the more important, is shadow work. So this is really embracing and integrating your quote shadow self, which is just the parts of you that maybe you suppress or you try to ignore. The things that maybe you don't like so much about yourself, or the things that you think are wrong with you based on something somebody told you somewhere along the way in your life, whether it's true or not, but you have sort of subscribed to that idea. And so now it's like there's this aspect of yourself that you maybe think is not so great or dark or whatever. So it's really a process of embracing that and learning to integrate it into who you are, because we all have both of these sides of us. We all have the sort of shadow self, and we have the more outward facing part of ourselves that we're more comfortable presenting to the world. So this really involves a lot of journaling. It can also include therapy this may be something that you would need to or want to explore, that depending on the kinds of things that come up, and maybe just needing some assistance with working through some of it and identifying it. Because again, a lot of times there's not like handbooks for a lot of this stuff. I mean, there's more resources than there used to be, but it really helps to have somebody guide you through the process. And if that's a therapist, that's great. It's a resource. It's something you can use to help you. It can also be a coach. It can also be others who have gone through this, or a mentor that can help guide you through the process. So meditation is another thing that you can do to kind of like identify some of these things. You can use meditation to ask your soul and to ask God to like reveal to you, what are some of these things that I'm unaware of right now, or that I'm maybe not looking at, that are affecting me? And that could be past wounds, things people have said, beliefs that you've come to adopt about yourself that maybe aren't true. So that's one of them. The second thing is inner healing. So engaging in practices that nurture your inner world, your inner self. And this again can be meditation, it can be yoga, somatic exercises, and yoga that's emphatic on somatic types of exercises are another thing that's kind of emerging now as a great tool and resource for working through some of this. And energy healing sessions are also a really great way to do this. This is a big part of what I do in a lot of my coaching programs, and it's also a service I offer separately. And it's also something that I have done myself, that has been tremendously helpful in my own inner healing work. Again, because sometimes it can be hard to recognize these things on our own. it can be hard to really bring them to the forefront. And it helps tremendously to have somebody to kind of mirror things back to you and to hold space for you that you can help work through that process. And also energy healing, which again is something I offer and I do. There's different modalities, so every healer kind of has their own way of doing it. But one of the things that energy healing can help with is that the healer can help with kind of pulling some of these energies out of you that you're kind of holding on, help you release them, hold the space for you to move through those emotions, and then help activate you with new emotions that are going to help replace that emotion that you're releasing. So because the space has to be occupied with something. So you want to, whenever let's say you're doing a lot of forgiveness work, let's say in your inner healing work, forgiveness comes up as something that's really important. So a healer can help you with clearing the grief or the pain or whatever related to that past hurt that you're working through forgiving, and the person that you're forgiving. But it can also it's just as important to make sure that you're calling in like peace and love and gratitude in place of that those heavier emotions that you clear through the energy healing. So these are some other things that are helpful with raising your overall frequency, and also with the shadow work and the inner healing in particular, especially working with a healer or a coach in these areas. They can help you move through this process more quickly. They can help you move through it in a way that, like, where it might have taken you years to do a lot of this on your own, they can help you do it in a matter of months in some cases, maybe weeks. It just kind of depends on what it is. So there's a lot of advantage to working with people to help you with this. That's not to say you can't do it on your own. It's just very helpful to have somebody help you with it. The third thing is forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't a thing of its own because it is an emotion. It is something that you do as part of the inner healing and shadow work, but it deserves its own category because so many of us struggle with truly forgiving other people and ourselves. A lot of times we don't think that we need to forgive ourselves as well. So forgiveness helps release the weight of resentment and grudges. It's not about saying, yeah, it's cool that you did that to me. It's not like it makes what somebody did to you okay, but it's about you getting your own peace back. It's about you freeing yourself from that bondage of holding on to the heavy emotions of not forgiving whatever someone else has done or something you've done that maybe you're not proud of, that you're struggling to forgive yourself for. It's a very powerful tool for healing. And it really allows you to free up energy that can be directed towards much more positive things and growth. The longer I go on in this work around healing, the more strongly I believe that this is why the Bible is so emphatic on forgiveness. This is why it is spoken about so much, because and now they're bringing me that vision of this meme where Jesus is trying to hand this little girl a brand new big teddy bear, and she's holding on to this old tattered teddy bear. You can't have the new teddy bear if you're holding on to the old one. Forgiveness is a similar thing, because it leads us to the whatever it is that we are not forgiving. It can start to turn into anger. It can turn into bitterness. It can turn into other heavy negative emotions, and those negative emotions will continue to fester and grow and get stronger and bigger, and they can actually manifest into physical ailments. They can manifest into diseases. They can manifest into cancer. It can manifest into heart problems, into, you name it, it can turn into some kind of a disease in the physical body. So it's really important to lean into this work, especially the forgiveness aspect of it, because this tends to be what I find many of us struggle with the most. It comes up the most in sessions I've done with clients. It's come up the most with my own healing work and my own healing journey. So forgiveness is really powerful and it's really important. It's not worth holding on to whatever someone else did to you, or whatever you are like not forgiving yourself for. It does not mean that whatever they did is okay and that they're like off the hook for whatever they did. But it's about you releasing yourself from that negative, heavy emotion and all of the related heavy emotions that come with holding on to things that you can choose to release through forgiveness. So then the fourth thing is emotional management. So you really want to become aware of your emotions, and start to learn how you can manage them, because a lot of times, and I know I have been there myself, this is, again, everything I talk about in this podcast is stuff I have learned and have done myself, and totally understand from my own journey. But we have complete control over our emotions. We just don't really realize it. A lot of us don't know that, and a lot of us are actually being run and controlled by our emotions because we're not aware of it, because we feel like we are at the mercy of our emotions. We feel like overwhelmed and overcome by them. And it's nothing to sneeze at. I'm not dismissing this if you're still kind of in that space, because some of the things that we experience and that we are confronted with in life are not easy things to just shrug off or overcome. There is absolutely stuff in life that will knock you right on your ass and can be really hard to pick yourself back up. I know. However, through doing the work, and the more that you do the work and the more you learn how to manage your emotions, the easier it gets, the more doable it becomes. But awareness is really the first step, and it's really a critical component. You have to start paying attention, and you have to start being aware and being able to be honest with yourself and look at where you are letting your emotions run the show. So there's different ways you can learn to manage it. But like I said, the first thing is awareness. So journaling things is really important, and journaling about it is going to be really key. This is one, for those of you that are seeing the video or YouTube, this is my growth and healing journal. This is a publication I made about a year ago or so. It's available on Amazon. I will include the link to this, but you can see here it has some forward information that kind of helps with how to use it, how to do all of the work in here. And then there's 2-page spread for each different page or issue that maybe you're working through, that you can work through the journal prompts in there. And so this journal in particular, this growth and healing journal, it encompasses kind of all aspects of everything I'm talking about here. It's a great resource and tool to use for all of this. It's supportive for things like shadow work. It's supportive for inner healing. It will help you with forgiveness, and it will also help with emotional management, because it's kind of like the similar steps that you're going to be moving through with all of this. Because again, it comes down to awareness. It comes down to analysis, like really looking at, okay, what is it, like, where did this start for me? Where did this emotion start? And like, let's say you have something happen in your day-to-day and you have a knee-jerk emotional reaction. We all have certain things that we just instantly react a certain way to. So look for those types of things and start to ask yourself, why do I react to that this way? Like, when did that start? What is it about this particular thing? What is it about somebody cutting in front of me in line? Or what is it about somebody interrupting me, or whatever it is that makes me feel like this? Why do I feel like that? And then you can start to trace it back, like other times in your life. When was the last time this happened? Oh, there was this time at work when so and so did that to me in a meeting. And then when else did that happen? Oh, well, there was a time when I was in college and blah, 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 blah. And then, you just keep working your way back as far as you can to kind of get to what was the first time that you can remember at that time. And then you can start to get at what are the underlying emotions around that. You can start to get looking at, what did I adopt as a belief around this? And that's when you can get to the third step, which is to alchemize it. So then you can start to look at, is it true that I am not worth listening to because when I was a kid, my grandparents always said children should be seen and not heard. Is that ultimately true, that I shouldn't be heard because of that one thing that happened when I was a kid? No, right? So then you can start to look at what feels better. I have important things to say. I have valuable lessons that I've learned in my life that I feel can help other people, right? So you can start to look at it differently. You can start to find things that feel better, that you can basically flip the script on it and start to think about it and conceptualize it differently. That's the alchemy part of it. So then you can start to affirm those things now that you've alchemized these limiting beliefs or these negative stories. Now you can start to affirm your new beliefs and you can start to speak those into existence, just through repetition and reminding yourself every time you start to feel that way and experience that negative thing, or catch yourself in saying something negative to yourself, you can stop yourself and go, wait, no, that's not true. I already know I no longer believe that. That was never mine to believe in the first place. That came from my grandparents or my mom and dad or whoever, right? And then you can go into your affirmation and your new belief. So it's an ongoing practice. Like this is not, you don't do this one time and then like everything's magically fixed. It's something you have to do on an ongoing basis, um, as you continue to improve and heal and grow. And that's fine because you'll continue. It's not like you have to do it like um, intensively forever. It will be that way in the beginning as you're starting to learn how to do it, but over time, like it won't have to take as much as when you're first starting off. Like once you get to the root of most of these kind of stories for yourself, you'll start to get much faster at working through things because you'll know what they're based in, once you do the initial groundwork. And so the last thing is gratitude and love. Cultivate a daily gratitude practice and surround yourself with love. So this can be as simple as waking up in the morning and making sure that the first thing you do is list 3 to 5 things that you are grateful for. Thank you, God, for another day. Thank you, God, that I have restful sleep. Thank you, God, that I have a job to go to. Thank you, God, that I have a roof over my head, whatever. Like whatever your 5 things are, you want to start the day with that because that's going to set the tone. And it's going to get you starting to look at what's good. Try to ignore the stuff that's not so great, like try not to give that too much airtime in your head. Focus on the things that are good and even practice finding gratitude for things that aren't so great. A dear friend of mine and I have been talking recently about a lot of different things. We've been working through some of our money stuff and some of our limiting beliefs. And one of the things that we were talking about recently was even learning how to, like, for me, for example, for as long back as I could remember, paying bills, it was just like, ugh, like it wasn't like I was like, yay, I'm so excited to pay my bills, right? Like, I mean, really, who feels that way most of the time? But I had to look at that and go, okay, well, maybe that's part of why things aren't always so great in the finances for me, the way that I would like to see them. So how can I flip this around? How can I look at this differently? Well, I am happy to pay my power bill because that means that I am going to have air conditioning in the summertime to keep my house nice and cool. I'm going to have heat in the winter. It means I have lights to turn to, keep the lights in the house and be able to see in the nighttime. I'll be able to have, use the internet. Like, so flipping it around to look at like, what does paying that power bill get you? What do you get from it? Same thing with anything else, right? So trying to frame it differently and just look at it differently, as challenging as that can be at times, it does make a world of difference. And the other thing I've been practicing a lot lately has been ignoring some of the things in my reality that I'm not crazy about right now, or just not reacting to things that I would normally react to very negatively, things that would normally make me mad or things that would normally send me into tears or whatever. I'm really practicing like just not reacting to those things and focusing on what I'm grateful for, what is good, and keeping my mind on where I'm going, what my goals are, what I'm working towards. Again, because this is all about kind of continuing to align yourself more and more with the higher frequencies and the higher vibrations. It doesn't mean that when I have a bad day or when something happens that does make me cry or does make me angry and I'm going to sit there and go, okay, I'm not going to react to this, that like once I make that decision and focus on what I'm grateful for, that I'm magically just not upset all the rest of the day or whatever, right? Like that's not reality. It's not realistic. But by taking that minute or two or 10 to stop and go, okay, I'm not going to react to this. I recognize that this is a normal human emotional response to what just happened to me or what just happened in my life right now. And it is scary or whatever, or my mind is just kind of freaking out about it. I can recognize that. I can sit with it for a second and let myself cry for a minute or let myself be mad for a minute. And then I'm going to go back to, okay, what can I focus on right in this moment that is good? Yes, this one thing sucks, but what's good? Well, I'm healthy, I'm alive, I have a home, I have my 3 beautiful children, like all these things that I can start to focus on, and then I can start to see that list is a little is bigger than whatever this thing that's going on at the moment is. And I can also remind myself whatever this thing happening at the moment is temporary. It is not the rest of my life. It is not defining everything in my reality in my life. So you're just kind of bringing that thing back down to size, and you're shifting your attention and your energy back to the more positive, lighter energies and emotions and frequencies. So that's kind of the practice of it. Meditation is another great way to do this. Even if you can only manage to get yourself to spend 2 minutes deep breathing just to calm your nervous system back down out of that intense emotional state that maybe you've just experienced. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being, like, I don't know, Buddha on the mountaintop and like you're in this, supremely enlightened state all the time or whatever, because it's not, most of us are not in that space. It's not realistic. But it's about continuing to work towards being in these higher vibrational emotions. It's continuing to work towards keeping your focus on the things that are positive and on the things that are good, and continuing to hand over these heavier emotions like anger and bitterness and grief and sadness, hand those over to God. That's what he's there for. He's told me this many times, like, leave it at my feet, bring it to my feet. That is why he tells us to pray without ceasing. It's continuing to take these things back to him, lay them at his feet, because it's not for you to carry them. It's for you to rely on him to help you carry them for you so that you can continue moving forward, and asking that instead of feeling these emotions, you be filled with love, you be filled with gratitude, you be filled with peace. So those are kind of the tips that you can do. Remember, it's not something that you do overnight. It's a lifelong thing. It's something you practice regularly. It's something you will continue to have to do. There's a saying in this space called new level, new devil, because as you elevate, from one state to another, you're going to get confronted with stuff again, and you're going to have to move through all of this again. And that's fine, because like I said, the more you do this consistently and the better you get at this, the more that, like, it's really that first time through that is probably the most challenging, because you haven't done any of it yet. You're not aware of any of it yet. But once you kind of have an awareness of what that base level is for you, what those root things are for you, you get a lot faster at moving through stuff. Because like for me right now, I can do this in, a space of a few minutes. Oftentimes I do have days where it takes longer depending on what's coming up, but because most of my triggers, most of the things that come up for me go back to the same, I don't know, 3 to 5 things. So I can quickly go, oh, this is about that time. Well, I already, I know that that's not true. I know that this is true instead. And so this is just coming up because I'm doing something new. I'm stretching myself in a way I haven't before. And so my brain is sounding the alarms, to try to keep me safe, because it doesn't like the unknown. So this is how it starts to become over time as you get really practiced with doing this work. So like I said, it's a dynamic reflection of your inner state that you're looking at on a day-to-day basis over time. It's just you're consciously choosing thoughts and emotions that uplift you and empower you and elevate your vibration to help you create that life that we all want, the life filled with joy and abundance and love and happiness. So that's what I have for you today, friends. I really hope this has helped you. Again, check out the Growth and Healing Journal on Amazon if you want to grab a copy of that to help you get started with that work. Also, feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in working with me for energy healing or to help coach you with any of this. This is something I do offer coaching for. So I have different packages for that as well. So would love to hear from you. Would love to hear what your thoughts are about this and any of you that are moving through this and what your experiences are. I really would love to see it get more normalized for people to share more about their, their endeavors with this and just what they're experiencing doing this work, because we're not alone and we have more in common with each other than I think a lot of us realize. And it's okay. We can help each other with this. And I really believe it's probably the most important work you'll ever do in your life, because like I said, the more you do this, the better you become as a person, the more it's going to affect everyone around you. So with that, I will leave you with that today. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. If you find this podcast helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with others that you think would also appreciate this podcast. And also, if you feel led to support the podcast, contributions are always welcome and greatly appreciated. So I will include the link for that as well, where you can make a contribution to support the podcast if you feel led to do that and if you like the show. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you all next week for the next episode of the Faith, Fitness, Joy podcast.